Another week and another great pay-per-view presented by the WWE that we are going to break down on this show. Welcome into Squared Circle Radio, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting Chris Belcher, and that is the young buck, Mr. Andy York. And Andy, Bad Blood is on the horizon. This Saturday, we're going to break it all down. What a show it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, they brought this pay-per-view back for a reason because we've got more than one storyline heading into it that deserves to have bad blood written all over it. So it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about it and break it down and see where we go from here.
Don't you love when a pay-per-view is appropriately named? Like when it coincides with exactly what we're doing. And I'm not talking about gimmick pay-per-views because that makes sense as to why you'd call it that. But Bad Blood, like you said, appropriately named. I love it. It's fantastic. Yep. If this is your first time checking out Squared Circle Radio, we just appreciate you being here. Whether you're listening on podcast, make sure you follow on whatever platform it is. If you're on our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button that's right down below the video. Hit the thumbs up button as well. We would appreciate that. That helps the show. Leave us a comment. That helps the algorithm, gets our show out there. We would appreciate that so much. And if you're listening on Sports Wire Radio, continue to keep it locked in right here for all your great sports needs. But if you are listening on our brand new partners, that's right, Wrestling Society Network, the WSN. If you are listening on their app and on their platform, or watching rather, thank you so much for doing that. We can't tell you how much we are excited to be a part of this platform and another way to get our content out there. We appreciate those guys and their support for believing in us and wanting us to be part of their network. So Wrestling Society Network, that is a new home for Squared Circle Radio. We thank them so much for welcoming us as part of their family. All right, Andy, without any further ado, let's get to it. WWE Bad Blood this coming Saturday. A little bit earlier of a start time than usual. I think that's due to a UFC event. Don't know the exact particulars of that. But in any event, lots of controversy surrounding the pay-per-view. And I'm not talking about exactly what's going to happen or what have you. I'm talking about the main event. What is going to main event this show? Let's talk about the two big possibilities as far as the main event goes. The first, of course, being the return to the ring of the Tribal Chief, the OTC Roman Reigns, and tagging up with the American Nightmare, the undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes, against Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Man, it's ironic that Roman's first match back is against the guy that beat him in the main event of WrestleMania, or I'm sorry, tagging with the guy that beat him against his family. Some interesting builds that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, not involving Roman Reigns, rather involving Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Interesting layers to this. Sam Roberts called this an Inception storyline, where it looks like that we're actually in with this storyline, but it's this and it's that and it's this and it's that. You got to love Triple H and his layered, detailed storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible the kind of layers that we've gotten with not just this story, but kind of a lot of the major WWE stories that are going on right now are not just cut and dry one thing, but they keep evolving and changing as time goes on. It's like you said, it's ironic that the guy who took the title from Roman is now his partner for this, which is definitely like one of the key elements heading into this.
Yes.
But this doesn't feel like your normal, can they coexist tag story that WWE has told to death over the last 20 something years.
Right.
It feels very different than that, which is very exciting. Something fresh, something new. So I'm very excited to see how it plays out. I'm very excited to see Roman back in the ring. I don't know how much he's actually going to work in this. I think it was smart to make it a tag match because it's been a minute. So I don't know how much he's actually going to work, but I'm excited to see when he gets in there. I'm also very excited to see how much Roman and Jacob Fatu interact in this. Like, I don't expect them to interact a whole lot in this match.
I think, I'm with you. I don't think they'll interact a whole lot, but I do think it won't be it won't be very Roman offensive heavy, I don't think. I think we're going to see a lot of Roman gets beat down, Jacob gets in, gets a couple of shots in, and then gets back out kind of thing. And then when Roman makes a babyface comeback, he'll hit Jacob with like a Superman punch or something, and it'll be very minimal, I think.
Yeah.
We have one show left as far as SmackDown goes. That's this Friday in Nashville, which we'll be there for. So we have one SmackDown left before Bad Blood. What are the chances this becomes a tornado, no holds barred tag match?
I think if they're going to do that, they won't do it. They won't announce it on SmackDown.
They'll wait to the pay-per-view.
I think it'll be like they did, when it was Randy and Kevin Owens versus Solo and was it Tama Tonga? I think that one was Tama Tonga.
Yep.
Where they just started brawling before the match even started. And Nick Aldis came out and said, "You know what? We're not doing this. We're just gonna. It's a tornado tag. You boys have fun."
Right.
I could see them doing like the same exact thing for that match too. If that's the case, this probably kicks off the show. They're just all chaos, and then they just turn it into a tornado tag or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I think it's very possible that happens, but then again, maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's another layer that we wait on. Maybe that's, the evolution of this storytelling. I mentioned the Inception part of this storytelling. Of course, I'm referring to the Inception movie with all the different layers and all those kind of things. But let's talk about what happened this past Friday on SmackDown with Kevin Owens, with Randy Orton, and with Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline. Man, I was on the edge of my seat when Randy Orton's calling out Cody Rhodes to get an explanation for him teaming with Roman Reigns. And then you have Kevin Owens coming out, and then the Bloodline comes out, and they make a tag match, and Cody says, "Well, why don't we make it a 6-man?" And Kevin Owens says, No. You've got your partner. You've got your match. We'll handle this, bro. You could cut the tension with a knife. Oh my gosh. I was shocked at how this developed.
Yeah, I am too. And part of me thinks this might be Randy masterminding. Especially him at the end.
You took the words right out of my mouth, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because obviously, like backstage, Kevin Owens told Cody not to come out, and then Randy, like as soon as Kevin left, was like, "Listen, if things start to break down, come on out and help us out." And then like even like in the post match stuff, Randy was like, "I told him to come out," everything like that. So I could see Randy being the mastermind behind this and getting Kevin to turn on Cody, and then Randy turn on Cody at the same time or sometime later or something. But yeah, I could definitely see that playing out. I don't know. And I love heel Randy Orton. I absolutely love heel Randy Orton.
Yeah.
But he's so over with the fan base right now. I don't know how well, and everybody's kind of expecting it. I don't know if it would get the reaction that they would expect if Randy turned on Cody.
It might not get the initial reaction that they expect, but buddy, when he shows up the next week with a shaved head and we get 2009 Randy Orton back.
If he starts putting folks, then I'm all on board.
Listen, and the fans are going to be right there with you. That's how you're going to get them to turn on Randy is he's got to be vicious. He's got to be vindictive. Yeah. He has to be the Viper, just waiting in the wings for the right time to strike. We talk all the time. I'm not saying this is going to happen this way, but we talk all the time about how the night Dean Ambrose turned on Seth Rollins was the night Roman Reigns announced his leukemia. And as terrible as that is, that was the perfect night for him to do it. So if Randy Orton finds the absolute perfect time to turn on Cody Rhodes, that'll send shockwaves. That'll set him up to be, the Viper again, and that'll get the fans to turn on him.
Yeah, and I mean, a perfect place would be in the middle of the ring in Atlanta, Georgia. And if only they were going to be in Atlanta, Georgia sometime soon, then maybe something could happen.
Do you think it happens that early? Are you predicting
I don't think it happens. I don't think it happens that early. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened.
Okay.
I think if there's one place that you would get massive boos for Randy turning on Cody, it would be Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So I don't know, if they're planning on coming back anytime soon. I doubt it. But I think that could be one place. I also don't think it's going to happen right now because I firmly believe that we're heading to Randy Cody at Rumble for the title.
Okay.
maybe they may push it all the way to WrestleMania, but I just, there's too much with Roman and Rock and Cody still left to tell. I don't think we're getting that at Mania. I think that's more of the Rumble, and then post Mania, you can revisit Randy and Cody.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with it. Honestly, like I can see both scenarios, man. It's a money WrestleMania match. But I also think it's a money WrestleMania match to have Randy Orton face John Cena. So it's also a money match. I think if you do the story right of Randy and Kevin Owens, maybe.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, maybe KO is the one that turns first, and then you have Randy going to bat for Cody. You have Randy versus KO, and then the night after WrestleMania is when you get the Orton turn on Cody. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different ways they could go. All that to say, they got a lot of time to do it. A lot of layers in this story. I am excited, man. This is really, really good stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say I think Randy, Kevin Owens could be really interesting. I personally though, I think this is the year, if we're jumping on this trail, I think this is the year to do Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania.
Again?
I think they never faced each other at WrestleMania.
They did it in the pandemic at the WrestleMania 37 in Tampa.
Oh, that one doesn't count. Nobody remembers that one. That's the cinematic of Johnny and Ciampa that nobody wants to talk about. That was not great. I think it's time to run back a proper Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn feud going into WrestleMania, because we know, I mean, we've seen in NXT what those two guys can tell. I think that would be a great way. Make it a ladder match, just to make it a ladder match, and just watch those two guys go out there and steal the entire weekend. I think that would be a great way to go for them.
Well, I mean, I think that's an interesting way to bring that about, because you talk about the stories that they told, how Sammy was in the bloodline. Kevin basically rescued him. WrestleMania 39, they won the tag titles from the Usos. But then you turn around and you look at the same thing that Kevin Owens is mad at Cody Rhodes for teaming with Roman Reigns. Well, if we get OG bloodline in the War Games, you have to include Sami Zayn in that. And then you have Kevin Owens, who's upset now at Sami Zayn for teaming up with Roman Reigns again. So, I mean, there's continued layers to this story, but that's down the road. We're talking about this Saturday, Bad Blood. It's Cody, it's Roman versus Jacob and Solo. You've already said what you expect out of Cody and out of Roman. Not sure if we're going to get the Bloodline versus Bloodline War Games with all of those guys. The possibility of Hikuleo, we don't really know what's happening with that. There's lots of other potential Bloodline members out there. But as far as this iteration of the Bloodline goes, I mean, it's sort of contingent on what happens with Cody and with Roman, right? As to who Roman faces, when he faces Jacob, when he faces Solo, if he faces Rock, when he comes back, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's a lot of factors that kind of play into all of it, because we still have, there's a Saudi show between now and Survivor Series in there.
Beginning in November, I think.
Yeah. So that could be a way you run back Roman Cody 3 if you really wanted to. That could be where you do Roman Solo instead, do it there, and then have Rock come out or whatever the case is. I think we're going to get a much clearer picture of where we're heading after this match of Bad Blood. I don't think we're going to get like a clear direction, but I think we're going to start to see a lot of pieces unfold. I wouldn't be shocked if Jimmy shows up. I wouldn't be shocked if a couple other things happen. I mean, I think Jey Uso won the title for a reason. Yes. I think Jey Uso winning the IC title is going to bring him right back into this Bloodline storyline one way or another. And so, maybe that's because the Tongans cost him the title at some point, or Jacob cost him the title at some point, or, Jimmy makes the state, whatever the case is. I think we're going to get a much clearer picture over the next couple of weeks about where we're heading for Survivor Series, and then where we're heading post Survivor Series as well.
Well, if we're getting a clearer picture, and that starts this Saturday at Bad Blood, let's make our prediction right now. We've gone back and forth on what we think could happen. Somebody, we've said Cody's going to eat the pin, and then Roman's going to eat the pin, and Solo's got to eat the pin. But we got to make a final prediction. This is our prediction show. What do you think's going to happen?
I don't know yet. I think I think Jimmy returns.
Okay.
And I think he runs off Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. I think him and maybe somebody else. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Randy comes out to help Cody this time, or maybe, something like, if they're going to do the Kevin Owens turns first, Randy coming out would feed that fire even more and everything else.
Yep.
Anyway, I think the Tongans get run off by somebody. It looks like Roman and Cody are going to win. And I think I still think Jacob Fatu gets the pin on Roman. And the new bloodline wins, and we head forward into whatever that show is in November.
You make a compelling argument. I'm going to stick to my guns here. I know we've seen this finish in a tag match before, but it will not surprise me if it gets run back. I still think Solo Sikoa pins Cody Rhodes to win this match for the bloodline. And I think that further drives the wedge between Cody and Roman, of Roman saying, look, I trusted you. You're supposed to be the guy, and you let me down. You got beat by these guys. And now I'm fighting an uphill battle. And any way that we can to continually drive the wedge between them, maybe to where it gets to a point that Roman doesn't have a choice, but he has to go back to Cody as a Survivor Series partner to face the bloodline. I don't know exactly, but I'm going to stick to Solo pins Cody and the bloodline gets it done in this match. All right. That's match number 1. Let's go to the other SmackDown match, the match that was made official this past Friday by Bayley beating Naomi to earn a spot against Nia Jax for the Women's Championship at Bad Blood. Very interesting, I think, that Bayley beat Naomi for a shot. I would have liked to have seen maybe Naomi get a crack at this, especially because I don't think Bayley's going to beat Nia Jax. So I don't really see a point in having her lose again. What are your thoughts?
I think there's a scenario where Bayley wins, but she doesn't walk out champ.
Okay.
Because especially after what happened with Nia and Tiffany on Friday as well.
Yes.
I could see Bayley gets the win over Nia and then immediately gets cashed in on by Tiffany, and Tiffany gets the win. I agree. I think Naomi should have got this spot more than Bayley because I think it's a fresher matchup. We've already seen Nia and Bayley. That's part of the reason why I think a cash-in might be happening because we've already seen this. You give the fans kind of what they want with Bayley beating Nia, and then you just immediately take it away. And then you can do Bayley, Tiffany down the road. You can still do Nia, Tiffany down the road as well. You can do a couple other options from there. But this is one of those that I don't think it necessarily needs to be on Bad Blood unless something like that is going to happen.
That's exactly.
So that's kind of where I'm leaning.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say because we know that it's confirmed. We're going to get, hasn't been necessarily confirmed, but they mentioned it on SmackDown. Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton this coming Friday on SmackDown. So that makes sense. I'm like you though. We're in this era where we only see 5 matches on a pay-per-view. Now, granted, let me preface this by saying we are recording this before Monday Night Raw. So if something gets added, a 6th match gets added, I would sort of be shocked, but I wouldn't be shocked at the same time. So that being said, 5-match pay-per-view, I just feel like this story has not been good enough to put on Bad Blood. I don't know. I said on the 3 Count episode 2 weeks ago that the SmackDown women's division needs a major facelift because it's just not interesting to me. A major facelift would be a cash in, and that would need to happen on Bad Blood, but I just don't think this match belongs on Bad Blood if that's not going to happen. I'll contradict one thing you said, though. I think a Tiffany cash in on Nia has to be the way to go. Like, I don't think you can cash in on Bayley because I think the way that they're building this Tiffany thing and the way you can tell the fans are starting to get behind her a little bit, they need the cash in on Nia rather than somebody else.
Yeah, the only thing is, if you take Tiffany and turn her face, who's the other Hills on SmackDown?
Chelsea Green.
Right, but you only got Chelsea, Piper, and Nia. You don't have a lot of others. Naomi could turn heel at some point. I think
I thought we were getting that last Friday, honestly.
I think it's coming. I could see Jade turning heel at some point too, pretty quick. Not pretty quick, but some point down the line. But right now, you're very babyface heavy on SmackDown for the women's division, it feels like.
Would it be interesting? Here's just a scenario that popped in my head. Would it be interesting if you take Alba Fire from the Unholy Union, and she's a very successful singles wrestler. We saw she was the longest reigning NXT UK Women's Champion. So you could, at least for one storyline, split her off and have her go after the championship as a heel. If you want to do that. I don't know. Just another thought, but I'm like you. The division is very thin from a babyface heel perspective, so we got to do something. I get your point there. I just think maybe it doesn't happen right away. Maybe we wait a little longer for this cash-in and we build, because this was, correct me if I'm wrong, the first time we've seen Nia get physical with Tiffany and get upset at her.
I think it's the first time she got physical with her. It's not the first time she's been upset with her.
Right.
I think. So I think we could see like a month or two more where Nia just starts losing it more and more and more on her. Maybe Tiffany costs her a match again here and there, and then Nia starts to go after Tiffany, and then she just snaps on her and beats her. But I could also see a scenario where Bayley almost has the win, and the ref gets knocked down or something, and Tiffany comes in and hits Bayley with it, looks around, cashes in, and pins Nia, and can be still kind of a tweener heelish character as she leaves, because you can still do Tiffany Nia heel on heel, like heel versus heel.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that dynamic matters as much as it used to. It still matters in some cases, but not. I think for a one-off like that, I don't think you necessarily need to define who's the babyface, who's the heel. You can just have two people going in there and fighting for the title.
Well, you saw Io Sky cash in last year as a heel. The fans loved it. She embraced the babyface role for the moment, and then she was a heel after that. So you could easily do that with Tiffany Stratton and what her character is. She doesn't have to be a full-fledged babyface. It's just she's a natural babyface because people don't like Nia Jax. I think that's the real reason. So if we're predicting this matchup, I am going to predict a Tiffany Stratton cash in at Bad Blood. I think it happens. I think it straight up happens on Nia Jax. I think Nia beats Bayley again, and Tiffany cashes in, and she is the champ moving out of Bad Blood.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I think Tiffany cashes in. I don't know if she cashes in mid-match. I could see that happening. But I think she finds her opportunity. She cashes in, and she walks out women's champion.
All right. Let's go to the Raw portion of Bad Blood. Now, again, let's preface this by saying we are recording this before Monday Night Raw tonight. Normally, we record during Monday Night Raw. But as you can see, I'm supporting the 0-3 Titans, and we play tonight, and I do not want to miss the game. So we're recording this before Monday Night Raw. So all that to say, if something happens and another match gets added or something gets changed, we apologize. That being said, let's talk about the other potential main event for Bad Blood, and that is the Hell in a Cell match between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, a rivalry that is 9+ months in the making. Man, an interesting story. The last 2 weeks on Raw, we saw Punk come out and cut maybe the best promo of this WWE run. We saw Drew come back, cut a promo this past week, and this is the week for them to come together, man, ahead of Bad Blood. I hate to see that this is the end of the story. I think you could easily go on, but it is a match that is very anticipated. Like I said, 9+ months in the making.
Yeah, I think this, from WrestleMania on, this is easily WWE's best story. Like without a doubt, I think it's WWE's best story. I think it's contention for one of the best stories of the year, because it's. You would have thought it'd been very easy for them to get very boring after the strap match, or even like leading into the strap match, and they still found ways to add on to it to make you want to come back and watch it more and more and more.
Yep.
I'm expecting a full-on brawl tonight. Like, I'm expecting a pull apart. They have to be separated. They both get kicked out of the building. Maybe they meet in the parking lot and just start brawling.
Yep.
We know Triple H loves a good parking lot brawl. We haven't had one in a while.
That's true.
Well, we've had Bronson and Reed and Braun Strowman, but
yep.
I think we could have another one of Punk and Drew in the parking lot. And then I think once we get to Bad Blood, I'm not going to say we're getting an AEW version of Punk where we're getting like just gushing blood. However, I do think we see both guys get busted open.
Yes.
I think both guys, because Punk made it very clear in that promo a couple weeks ago that he's not going to make a promise he can't keep. And the very first thing he said after that is, I'm going to make you bleed.
Yep.
So I think we are going to get an old school Hell in a Cell match where these two guys are going to brutalize each other.
Yep.
It's going to be nasty. It's going to be bloody. And that's why I think this will probably main event the show.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be insane. Like, I think it's going to be wild. I said it last week. I think I said it last week. Maybe it was the week before last. When I said, I'm not ready to say what this is going to be yet because I will eat my words real fast from a brutalizing perspective. It's going to be bad. And it will not shock me if there's a pane of glass in this, just for the sake of CM Punk and his glass and all of those kind of things. Will not shock me if AJ Lee shows up, throws in the towel and stops the match. That will not shock me in the least. But before we get to our match predictions, because we can both agree, like, this is going to be just insane. We look back at the last 9 months. If this is the end of this rivalry, again, I don't think it should be. I think you can, well, maybe it's the end of it from a week-to-week perspective. You can always revisit this whenever you need to. It's real easy. We saw that with Shawn Michaels and Triple H. We've seen that with lots of rivalries through the years. Look back at the last 9+ months, though. If you had to pick out a singular moment from this rivalry, what's been your favorite?
Man, that's hard. Oh man, that's really difficult because like 3 have come to mind instantly.
Of course.
Because WrestleMania, when he cost him the title, like that's just picture perfect.
Yep.
When he slid in at Clash of the Castle as the referee and did the pinfall, that was fantastic. Honestly, though, I think the memory that sticks in my mind when I think of this feud,
I think I know what you're going to say,
is from the SmackDown post Clash.
Yep.
When Drew carries that bloody Punk through the backstage area and just dumps him and then steals the bracelet. Like, that to me is when this feud turned from being like 2 guys just hating on each other to like, we've entered blood feud now.
Yes.
We've entered into pure like hatred for each other mode. And from that moment on, it's been like just every week has been building and building and building on that.
I think if I had to pick out a moment, and yours is probably the one I would pick, but I'll take it a step further. And I will involve Seth Rollins in the SummerSlam match. And to me, the moment that CM Punk saw Seth Rollins with the bracelet.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily involve Drew McIntyre. I mean, it does, because we'll see how it plays out. But it just proved the storytelling aspect of this rivalry. That, yes, it's a blood feud. And yes, it's brutal. And yes, we want to kill each other. But as much people give crap about WWE fighting over a bracelet, I think that just took the storytelling portion to another level between these guys. And just like that, it was so, you could feel the air being sucked out of the Cleveland Browns stadium and at my house as we're watching it when we all realize what is happening. Because when Punk points at the bracelet, you just hear the audible gasp of everybody. It's like, oh man, same way when the dock door opened and Drew is carrying Punk. It's that audible gasp that has just made this story so compelling, so awesome, and leading to a rightful Hell in a Cell match to end this feud. So I have to ask. It's the rubber match. They're going to brutalize each other. But what's your prediction? Who comes out on top, CM Punk or Drew McIntyre?
I am going to sound like a homer here, and I'm totally fine with that. But it's his first major feud back in WWE. It's his first, like, not big time moment, because he's had some here and there. But it's his first, like, I'm back, and I'm back as CM Punk, best in the world. I think Punk gets the win. And I even think we're going to see the bracelet make a return.
Yeah.
I think the broken bracelet, and I think Punk's going to shove it in Drew's mouth and hit the GTS in the end and get the pinfall that way. So I'm going to go CM Punk. Both of them are bloodied. Both of them don't show up on TV for a couple weeks, and Punk gets the win.
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to give the third and final match to Drew McIntyre. I don't know how he wins. I just threw the idea out a minute ago of AJ Lee throwing the towel in, but I would love to see that happen. I think that would be incredible. And plus, it puts it into this point in the rivalry, but it's so easy to bring it back if she throws the towel in, man. Oh, it's so easy. But I'm going to pick Drew to win this one. And I think you're right. I think they're off TV for a couple weeks. I think this win here brings Drew to a world title match against Gunther at Survivor Series. And then somehow CM Punk cost him the championship at Survivor Series, and then around and around we go again.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what I would do. Just saying.
Oh, man. I don't know if I would do that. I think we need a minute I think we need to cool off a little bit.
We're going to
do other things.
We're going to cool off for a month and a half. Like, you don't even see CM Punk for a month and a half. And then there it goes. I would do it just because I think it's great. All right. Let's move on to the other. You mentioned this is probably the best story that WWE has told since WrestleMania. The other great stories that WWE has told has involved the Judgment Day and the injury to Rhea Ripley, the insertion of Liv Morgan, and then the eventual split at SummerSlam, and we saw how all that went. 2 matches coming from that feud this weekend at Bad Blood. First, let's talk about Damian Priest versus Finn Balor, the match that we've wanted to see for a long, long time, and now we're finally going to get it. The first match, hopefully not the last match in this series, because I think these two guys are going to have a great, great one-on-one match. And again, don't make it be the last.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the last, but I don't think they're going to fight again immediately.
Okay.
I think there's going to be some separation, and I'll give my reason why when we do prediction wise.
Okay.
But I think you're completely right. I think this is going to be a really good match for both guys to show, what they're like singles. I've always been a really big Finn Balor fan, and I feel like his role in the Judgment Day from the beginning wasn't like. I feel like he should have been the one to come in and been the leader of it and turned it into a completely different version. But we've seen what he can be the leader like when he's in Bullet Club and a couple other groups. So I would love for him. I would have loved for him to be that leader, and I think he's going to be the designated leader for Judgment Day moving forward. And please let them keep the name Judgment Day and not go to Street Trash, because that's a horrible name for a group.
They had the shirts, man.
I think they're going to sell the shirts, but I don't think they're going to change the name. Like I please don't.
I hope not.
But I do think you're right. I think this is going to be a really good match. I think it's going to open some eyes to how good Damian Priest is and how good Finn Balor is. Because we know how good both guys are. We've seen them. I mean, Damian Priest and Bad Bunny had a stupid good match for no reason a couple years ago.
Right.
So I think we're going to get that version of Damian Priest back, and we're going to get a really good version of Finn back too.
Yeah. I completely agree, man. I think it's going to be fun. I'm not ready to say this will steal the show from a wrestling perspective, but it's got a pretty good chance to, honestly. All right. If we're predicting it, I'll throw to you. You alluded to it. What are you cooking up over there?
I think Damian Priest gets the win because the Wyatt Sick6 get involved.
Okay.
And I think we're heading to Survivor Series War Games with the Wyatt Sick6 versus Judgment Day.
Wow. In a traditional Survivor Series match?
Traditional Survivor Series, to me, the new gimmick of the Wyatt Six fits the War Games perspective perfectly, of just pure chaos, anarchy, tearing the house down. And you could argue the Judgment Day is that way too. And so I think it would be very interesting. Plus, Finn turned on Damian and Rhea, the whole family aspect. It makes sense there. Finn and Bray Wyatt have a lot of history together as well, so that makes sense. That makes sense too. So yeah, I am on the firm path that we could be heading to Wyatt Six versus Judgment Day. With an addition, you add Bronson Reed to Judgment Day, Braun Strowman to the Wyatt Six.
I was going to ask you how you're going to do that, because I think you could have a scenario where Uncle Howdy sits out the match, and it is Joe Gacy, it is Eric Rowan, it is Dexter Lumis, it is Braun Strowman, and it's Nikki Cross against Liv Morgan, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Carlito, and Dom. And you don't even have Bronson Reed in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that happening too. I think you need to have Uncle Howdy in this, though.
I agree. I just like adding the women as the fifth to be able to get them in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you could go either way. Or you don't even add Braun Strowman to this, and you just do Uncle Howdy, like you just do the Wyatt Six that way. Yep. And they face off. But that's my prediction, is I think the Wyatt Six get involved, or Damian just gets the outright win post-match. The Wyatt Six attack Finn Balor.
Yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead as to what's next in this scenario. I probably should have, but I'm going to go Damian Priest as well. I think he picks up the one-on-one win. But let's talk about that for a second as we move into Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship, with Dominic Mysterio suspended in a shark cage above the ring, which was my idea for SummerSlam. They finally picked up on it. Maybe they listened to our show then and just made a note.
Maybe.
And now they're bringing it back. I don't know. If you're listening to the show, please just let us know. We'd appreciate that. So the reason that I say that I haven't thought about what's going forward is I'm stuck in the past of just trying to figure out why this story doesn't have as much heat as it once did. Like, do you feel like this Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, like it's cooled off a whole lot?
Yeah, I do. And I think part of it is because we never got an explanation as to why.
Yeah.
Like, we never got an answer. We never got an answer for why. We just kind of have moved forward. And the baby faces stood tall like 3 weeks in a row, and then they finally started getting beat up. I think this is one of those where they didn't know. They knew where they wanted to get to. They didn't know how they were going to get to it, and it's cooled off a lot since then. And I think that's kind of the frustrating part of the story. Is I think that's part of the reason why it might come to an end at Bad Blood, and then we revisit it at some point. I think
that's a good point.
I think Rhea Liv comes to an end for a while. Like, I don't think we go back to that story. I think we focus more on Rhea Dom than we do Rhea Liv. But I don't see the point of them going back. I personally, I don't see Rhea walking out as champ right now. And so I don't know what you do with her post Bad Blood. I think they need to be separated and kind of go their own way for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a conundrum too. I think they need to be separated for sure, which is why I don't know why there's not a gimmick attached to this match, because essentially we're seeing a singles match that we just saw at SummerSlam, and I'm not sure how you do something different. We saw them interacting in the mixed tag match. So again, I don't know how you're going to do anything different in this match. But I'm like you. I think it's time to separate them. But the conundrum that I'm looking at is Rhea probably needs to be champion to elevate the championship once again. I'm not saying Liv's doing a bad job with it. We just know how dominant Rhea can be with that title.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is she's been dominant against everybody. So what else do you do with her and the championship? Yeah. But if you look at the other side at Liv being the champion, yes, she's done an okay job, but what do you do with her post Rhea Ripley? and advancing her character because it's cooled off so much. It's just, it's kind of strange.
Well, I got a solution.
Let's hear it.
And so I think this goes into prediction or match prediction
Let's
territory.
Do it.
And it ties everything together.
Let's do it.
I think Liv gets the win over Rhea.
Okay.
Post-match, normal Alexa Bliss makes her return. And we go Alexa, Liv, while we got the Wyatt Sick in the background, kind of tying those two, connecting together. And then, maybe at Survivor Series, we do... That's how you keep the women out of it, is you do Alexa, Liv for the title at Survivor Series while the War Games match is going on. And then maybe Nikki gets involved, helps Alexa, whatever the case is, and we start to see that come together. I think that could be one solution one scenario that we see happening. But I do think Liv gets the win, and I do think somebody returns afterwards to be the next top challenger for that. Maybe Charlotte, but I could also see Alexa doing that as well.
I love your forward thinking here. I do. I think it's fantastic. I'm with you. I think Liv retains here. I'm not saying that Rhea has run her course as champion, but we have clearly seen she can do things without the title. She's a big enough superstar to not have to have the title. So I think Liv retains here. Maybe it's Alexa, maybe it's Charlotte. Like you said, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just her versus Nikki for a little bit. And we try to tell that. And then that's how Alexa shows up, she comes to the aid of Nikki. And I don't know. Maybe if we visit that and it's something about how Liv finds a way to single out Nikki from the group and saying that Nikki's in the group because she doesn't have any other friends, and Nikki's a loner, and Nikki is just, thrown away and blah, blah, blah. And then that's how Alexa gets reintroduced as she was actually her friend. And I don't know. It could be interesting. Yeah. But I'm with you. I think I'll predict Liv here as well. All right, let's rapid fire run through our predictions. WWE Bad Blood this Saturday. 5 matches so far on the card. Let's run through them. The tag team match, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu against Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. What do you got?
I got Jacob Fatu pinning the OTC Roman Reigns.
I'm going to go Solo Sikoa pinning Cody Rhodes. But either way, the Bloodline comes out victorious. Let's go Nia Jax versus Bayley Women's Championship.
I'm going to go Nia gets the win with a Tiffy cash in right after with a new champ walking out.
I completely agree with exactly what you're saying. I'm going the same result. Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Hell in a Cell.
We're going to be chanting CM Punk whenever this match is over because I think he walks out winning and we move forward with whatever he's going to do next.
This is going to be the one match that we are different on. I am going with Drew McIntyre to win the rubber match in this series. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor.
Damian Priest gets the win and possibly a Wyatt Sick6 involvement with the Judgment Day.
All right. I'm going Damian Priest. Not ready to say anything about the Wyatt Sick6 yet, though. And then Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship.
Liv retains.
Liv does retain. I'm with you on that. All right. The one thing that we didn't talk about before we wrap up this Bad Blood preview, what's the main event of the show? There's lots of talk. There's lots of opinions. You made a great case earlier for CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. There's certainly a case to be made for the tag match with Cody and Roman. But if you have to pick, if you've got the pencil and you're booking the pay-per-view, what is the main event of Bad Blood?
If I have the pencil and I'm booking this pay-per-view, I am booking CM Punk and Drew McIntyre inside Hell in a Cell to be the main event. Because I feel like this pay-per-view was named for that feud. Like, I feel like they brought this story back. They probably had Roman and everything else in the back of their mind for this, but this story screams Hell in a Cell main event to me. And so I think it's got to be Drew Punk.
As much as I would love to agree with you, as much as I think your points are spot on, I just don't see a scenario where your WWE champion teams with his arch nemesis and his first match back and arguably the biggest star in the business against the Bloodline. I just don't see a scenario where that's not the main event of this show. I just don't. Like, if Cody is as popular as he is, and he's the champion, and he's top 5 in Fanatics merchandise sales over any other athlete, doesn't matter what the sports are. He's like number 5. And Roman Reigns is coming back to the ring for the first time since WrestleMania. And they're facing the guys that Roman brought into the company and helped create. And now this monster is trying to destroy its creator. I just don't see, because that fits Bad Blood as well. Like that fits the name as well. I just don't see that not being the main event of the show. And how many events will that be that your WWE champion is not the main event of?
He was the main event of SummerSlam.
He was the main event of SummerSlam, but he wasn't the main event of Clash at the Castle. And he wasn't the main event of
Backlash.
Was it Backlash? Who was main event of Backlash?
He main evented Backlash.
He and AJ main event of Backlash.
Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank. He didn't main event Money in the Bank. That's right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, and I understand what you're saying. I think this is one time where storyline takes precedent. And what's the best story going into Bad Blood? What's the story that everybody's been talking about for months leading into this? It's Punk Drew. I'll say this: I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them main eventing. I don't think it's a bad decision to have either one of them main eventing.
Yep.
However, if Roman and Cody and the tag match main events, where do you put Hell in a Cell? Do you start the show off with it? Because then good luck everybody else following it. You can't put it right before the main event because good luck main event following it.
Yep.
So I mean, where do you put it?
I think there's a thing you have to think about with crowd reaction for sure, because especially if you put Hell in a Cell right before the main event, I think people will crap on the main event, and you certainly don't want that. Or they'll be tired. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I think that if Hell in a Cell is not main eventing, it has to be first, and then good luck to Bailey and Nia. Bailey and Nia. Good luck to them. Because if Hell in a Cell,
good luck the rest of the card.
If Hell in a Cell is not last, it has to be first. It has to be.
And if the tag match isn't last, it has to be first.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Like I think you can kick off the night in Atlanta, Georgia, with Cody Rhodes music,
especially because the marching band's going to play him to the ring and all that.
Exactly. Just set the tone.
I still think
because you want to have they want to have the cell suspended above the ring all night long. If you do it first, then that's like out the window immediately. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, but it's crazy though that we've got 2 massive stories heading into this that could easily main event this pay-per-view. And how long has it been since we've had that in WWE where we've like had these big stories where we can say this should main event, no, this should main it's crazy that we're at this point now. I love it.
2024 has just been fantastic to us from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at these 2 matches, any other card that one of them is on, there is no question about what main events the show. None.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, we had the same conversation about Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. With the exact same conversation. That could have easily main evented SummerSlam, but it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see what Saturday brings. We'll have to see.
It'll be fun.
Yes, it will definitely be fun. All right. If you're just now tuning in, man, welcome to Squared Circle Radio. That was our YouTube preview for Bad Blood this coming weekend. If you're on our YouTube channel and you're not subscribed, please make sure that you do that. Hit the like button as well. We got tons of back catalog and playlists and separate videos, YouTube exclusive stuff. Just go check it all out. Do a deep dive into our channel. We would appreciate that so much. Again, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. Doesn't cost you a thing, but it helps us a ton. All right. Andy, a couple things that we missed from Monday Night Raw last week as we get ready to sign off here. We did not ignore SmackDown. Well, let's go ahead and say that right now. This coming Friday on our episode of 3 Count, we are going to preview this Friday's SmackDown. And why are we going to devote the whole show to previewing SmackDown? Number one, it is a loaded SmackDown. I mean, you've got a dumpster match. You have a triple threat ladder match for the tag team titles. AJ Styles is coming back. You've got a loaded show. And the second reason, because it's in Nashville, and Andy and I are going to be there, and we cannot wait. It's going to be so awesome. So we are going to preview that this coming Friday. So again, we're not ignoring it. Just tune into the YouTube channel this Friday so that we can preview it. A couple of things from Monday Night Raw before we sign off. Ma'am, again, we normally record during Monday Night Raw, so I hate that we're not doing that this specific week because, dude, that promo they aired for Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman was just beautiful. I cannot wait to see this match.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it either for multiple reasons. One, because it feels like we're finally getting the big Bronson Reed push that we've been kind of wanting to see since he returned.
Yes.
But two, I know I'm the homer and it's fine. I think we're going to get some Wyatt Sick involvement in this as well or something because they've been calling out Braun the last couple of weeks and their QR codes and everything else.
Yep.
So I'm very curious to see what happens. But I'm very excited. I could watch these two guys brawl backstage every week and never get bored.
Yes.
It's so much fun to watch them just brawl.
Because, like, they went through a car already. What are they going to go through next? Like,
oh, I know.
You know, let's.
I can see the ring exploding tonight too.
I'm going to pat myself on the back here. Let's go back to season 2 of the MCWF, because if you guys listen to the fantasy booking show that we do, it's podcast only. So go check it out. Andy and I have spent 3 seasons fantasy booking the current roster, and it's been a lot of fun. By the end of season 2, I'm pretty sure that I booked a fatal 4-way dumpster match or ambulance match that those rules could easily apply to Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed, where they could go through the ambulance, all the things. Like, I could easily see that sort of scenario happening. Tonight is not an ambulance match. It's a last monster standing match. It's going to be a lot of fun, but man, I'm with you. Like, pull the set down like we did in 2017. Just do all the things, man.
I need Braun Strowman to flip an ambulance again.
Yes. Didn't he flip a production truck too?
Yeah, flip a 18-wheeler, man. Like I firmly believe. Let's just have those two guys both just flip one on each other, and I'm all on board with it. The more chaotic and the more cartoonish and the more goofy this monster match is, the more I think I'm going to be invested. So just go crazy with it.
Like, the way I would finish this match is I would have Bronson Reed be in like an 18-wheeler or something and try to run over Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman moves, Bronson hits something, and it knocks him out in the cab of the 18-wheeler, and then Braun flips it, and that's how Bronson doesn't get up. Like, he just flips it, and there it is.
I could see this. I could see Braun being laid out in the middle of the ring, and Bronson hits a tsunami, and they both go through the ring.
Yeah, for sure.
When Big Show used to choke slam people, and they would go like straight through, I could see Bronson doing that, and Bronson stands right back up.
Yeah,
like nothing happened, and Braun's just laid out. Like I think there's multiple ways to make both of these guys look like a monster. Because I think that's the point of this whole thing is to make both of them just look like absolute beasts.
Yeah, it's going to be wild, dude. I can't. I'm here for it. Much like saying earlier that the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud is coming to an end, I'm afraid this is going to be the last that we see of this feud between these two. I would like to see it continue, but I feel like this is sort of the end that they're writing. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, maybe. It depends on what kind of happens post, and that's part of the reason why I think Bronson gets the win, and like they keep elevating him up and up. Because a Bronson Reed versus Jey Uso for the IC title, I could see Bronson Reed winning the IC title sooner rather than later. And so I could see that happening. But yeah, I think this is probably going to be the end of it for now. Maybe they revisit it sometime down the line. I really think Braun is going to get pulled into the Wyatt Sick stuff, and then Bronson can go off and just continue to be a monster.
Which is why I think this is probably the end of this feud in some way, shape, or form. Is if we are doing the Wyatt Sick stuff, you got to separate Bronson from that. You mentioned it, the Intercontinental Champion, brand new Jey Uso. They finally pulled the trigger, man. It happened right after we finished recording last week, and we both hated. Like, we were 5 minutes from finishing recording, and this thing happens, and we're both like, man. But they pulled the trigger. Both you and I were shocked that Braun Breaker took the L to Jey Uso, but it's about time, man.
It's about time Jey won it. I hate that it came at the expense of Braun Breaker, but it makes me think that Braun might be a challenger for Gunther sooner rather than later, too.
Okay.
So I think that could be something. I also think, I'm putting Braun Breaker as a dark horse to possibly win the Rumble this year.
Ooh.
Or at least be like the big killer this year. Like maybe break Roman's record for most eliminations or whoever. I think Braun has it now. But just like run through people in the Rumble. And then maybe go back after the IC title at WrestleMania. Maybe go after Gunther for the IC title. But I could see, or for the world title, I could see something like that. But I'm very happy for Jey. He deserves it. He is. I've seen a lot of people compare him to this generation's Jeff Hardy, of just people love him. Like absolutely love him. And so I'm very excited to see what happens with him in the future as well.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see as well. I'm not ready to say that I think Bronson Reed is just going to outright beat Jey Uso soon, because we are in this era of long title reigns. That being said, though, it's almost better for the babyface to chase the title rather than to keep it. So Jey Uso's Intercontinental title reign could be kind of short. We'll have to see. But great feel-good moment last week that they pulled the trigger. I'm with you, man. I think Braun Breaker's almost a lock to be the wrecker of the Royal Rumble. I think he's even closer to being locked to win Money in the Bank.
Yes.
The future is bright. This loss does not hurt him at all, especially going down to a guy like Jey Uso, who everybody loves, like you said. That's a great comparison to Jeff Hardy, man. It'll be interesting to see how they book it going forward, especially if they do the Bloodline versus Bloodline scenario. Jey Uso walking in with a championship, Roman Reigns without one. So it'll be easy way to tell that story, bring that back around from, the early days of the Bloodline. I don't know, man. We've been saying this all show. The floor is wide open. The canvas is blank as far as the stories that they can tell, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are 1,000 different directions they can go for not just WrestleMania, but I mean, even as close as War Games. Like, I think there's 1,000 directions they could go, and I'm here for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the build to last year's WrestleMania was chaotic and wild for a lot of reasons. I think this year's build to the Rumble and build to WrestleMania is going to be memorable for different reasons. Yes. Like, I think it's going to be just stories going into it are going to be so special. And so I'm all ready for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we're going to be right here for it all, whether you're listening on podcast or you're watching on the YouTube channel. If you're listening to us on Sports Wire Radio, one of our exclusive partners, we appreciate that so much. Keep it locked in right here for all your sports coverage. I know baseball playoffs are about to start. Hockey's going to ramp up soon. All of those kind of things, those guys have you covered. And, of course, the NFL. Those guys have you covered with all of your coverage. So make sure that you're tuned in. Sports Wire Radio, that is sports with a Z. Make sure that you are tuned in 24/7 for your one-stop shop for everything sports. And to our new partners at Wrestling Society Network, WSN, we thank them so much for bringing us on board. It's a great platform. They support a whole lot of podcasts. They do a great job of distributing tons and tons of wrestling content. We're happy to be a part of the team. All right, Andy, as we get ready to sign off and put a bow on this episode, Bad Blood is this weekend. Lots of great stories to tell. Anything else to add before we sign off?
No, just another fun week in wrestling, and this weekend's going to be wild. It's going to be chaotic. Luckily, Kentucky doesn't play this weekend, so I don't have to worry about trying to watch two things at once. So I can just devote all my attention to Bad Blood, but it's going to be a wild time.
That is true. Kentucky is on a bye. A much-needed bye after a big win against Ole Miss over the weekend. Titans play tonight. Good luck to the boys in blue as they get ready for a bye week as well. Hopefully we can get that number 1 dub. All right. All that being said, keep it locked in right here to Squared Circle Radio on our YouTube channel or on podcast. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been another edition of Squared Circle Radio, and we will catch you guys down the road.